There's only one thing in this entire world that's worse than AI music, and it's when the companies that make it just won't leave you alone. That was supposed to be the intro to this video, but I made that video and I kind of roasted a lot of AI music companies, but it didn't work because I was kind of going into it trying to hate them all, and it came across as salty and unrefined and wasn't very useful. So I went back, I wrote a script, and that went something like, over the last 12 months or so, I've received so many emails from random AI music companies trying to get me to promote their stuff to you. And that didn't work either because I kind of fell into the trap of sounding like I had it all figured out, when in reality, I'm figuring this stuff out as much as you are. So today, on the third version of this whole video and the fucking fifth take or something, I just want to tell you a story. About a year ago, when Suno and Udio came out, if you don't know what they are, they're just these AI-generated music sites. You put in a prompt, it generates some music. When they came out, it absolutely rattled me. It threw me into questioning what the whole point of this whole music thing was, why I had invested so much time into learning how to make music when it could just be automated away. Obviously, they weren't at that point yet, but I could see that was a direction that they were heading. I booked a beer with one of my old music professors to discuss the whole point of art and AI and music and what all of this was for. I'd made a video that was like 20 minutes long, I think, and I don't think it was very useful, so I since unlisted it. But it was basically me reaching out to try and get some other musicians who were feeling similar to feel a bit less alone. You gotta understand that initially, this thing rattled me because I'm a producer first, and for so long I have valued the final product, that final WAV file, the intricate details that can't be performed live, the automations you do in Ableton. Whereas like my musician friends who perform, they weren't as rattled, and I couldn't understand why at the time, but now it's clear that their why isn't to do with the final product in a WAV file, it's to do with that performance and the energy you get. But I emerged from this whole debacle with a bit of a new perspective on why I do music. And I started to understand that for me, the process of making the music is almost as valuable as the final product. Kind of trying to test that theory, I started filming myself for the very first time. It felt really uncomfortable, but putting cameras when I was making music and filming that and editing it into a video to showcase what the process is like rather than just showing people the final product. This just... I haven't spoken in a while. This feels more natural to me, to just like do my thing and not like talk to a camera. And initially they didn't work, they were just kind of like me figuring this stuff out. But then I did 30 songs in 30 days where every single day I filmed my process and people started to resonate with it. For the first time I could feel that people cared to see that. They cared to see the imperfections, the stuff that was happening, the boring process a lot of the time, because there's so much stuff out there that's just too polished right now. Fast forward to today, and a lot of my channel has been built on that idea that the process of making the thing is, actually it's in my description, sometimes the process of making the thing is prettier than the thing itself. It speaks for itself, I guess. Fast forward to when I was trying to roast all that AI music stuff in the first iteration of this video, because it had caused me so much emotional distress, it was clear to me, and it still is clear to me, that the fully AI-generated music stuff is slop. I really hate it, and yeah, that's easy to roast. But when it came to AI tools, when I was going through it in the video, I started to realize that they could be kind of useful. This one's got me a little bit more confused, because it's not like Mirica, which is just AI slop garbage. It could be a useful tool for a producer, and so it was kind of hard to retain this facade of hating it all, because I was like, oh, this could actually be useful. But I still felt really uneasy with it, and I didn't want to promote it to anyone. And I've since figured out why. I want to show you a couple clips from two videos about AI. One is from Ali Gallup, who is one of my favorite YouTubers right now. You should absolutely watch his stuff.
I think content. Okay, so I think the content. I'm sweating so much.
What's up?
What follow are hundreds, potentially thousands of spikes and crashes, breakthroughs and failures. All it's done is rain. So you start again, and again, and again. But slowly, very, very, very slowly, the breakthroughs start to add up. This is the one! Until you get to the point where you get something that slightly resembles that idea that you had right back in the beginning.
Uno, dos, tres. Cuatro, cinco, seis.
And then this one from Eddie Burbank.
When you put a part of yourself into anything you do, it's not just about the finished product. The experience can help you grow. It's a way to connect with others. To put it simply, it's what living life is all about, in my opinion. Life is full of real problems and stressors that I do sincerely hope technology can help solve. But these little moments in between are being stolen from us and branded as convenience.
And when I was writing the second iteration of this video, I got into a crazy flow state and I was writing about it. I described it here. Now sitting here in the coffee shop that I used to work at with an empty large cappuccino on my left, it might be the caffeine, but I've finally gotten into a flow and nothing feels better. My vision has physically narrowed, my mind is swatting away any thoughts that aren't to do with the script, lest they disrupt the train of thought, and I feel there is nothing I want to do more with my next 5 hours than get these ideas out, because I know they make sense, and they're finally coming. I continued. Writing isn't about putting words on an empty document, as painting isn't about brushing wet liquid onto a canvas, and music isn't about playing notes. Writing, as Jordan Peterson would say, is indistinguishable from thinking. The tedious process of writing a word, a sentence, a paragraph, deleting it, sitting back in contemplation, starting a new paragraph further down the page to connect with those initial thoughts later, and finally discovering the through line that connects it all together, that entire process is what makes the final piece so satisfying, and the time I spent on it, time well spent. I have a greater understanding of how my own thoughts connect together, which ones are most important to me, and where each of them might come from, which is nothing less than a better understanding of myself. That will not only help me live my life going forward with a little bit more conviction, but the actual time spent in a state of flow is to me one of my favorite states of being. I decided a long time ago that I want to spend a lot of my life in that state. If I could have written this entire script or made an entire song that I have made in one prompt on an LLM or in one of these music generation softwares, it doesn't matter. Because what they can't generate is the meaning that I get from doing that hard thing and the time and the joy that I get from spending that time in that flow state. There are some things in life that are hard and they suck and we don't want to do them, like doing your taxes, for example. But then there are things that them being hard isn't just a bug to be automated away. It is the entire reason we do them in the first place. And that's the creative process for me. Making music is 1,000 of those hard but meaningful things put together. And that's my problem with a lot of the tools that are coming out. A lot of the AI music tools that have reached out to me don't look to solve the hard but really tedious and things that we just don't want to do in our process. They look to solve these hard but meaningful things that both contribute to a very unique final product and also contribute to a huge amount of meaning and self-understanding that is found in the process. That could be something small from like figuring out how to get a saxophone sound in your song when you don't know how to play sax, or it could be the biggest thing of them all, which is figuring out something to say. This is a bit of an aside, but I think some of the reasons that these are the things that companies are targeting and trying to automate is because there's the biggest market for them. The people who will buy and use these tools are beginners and people who haven't already figured out workarounds for these sorts of things and are dying to kind of get their work to a certain level. There is far less money to be made in creating a tool that helps a veteran creative and streamlines their process by like 5 minutes every hour than there is by creating a tool which automates vocals. If you use a vocal tool like this, which generates a vocal for you, you didn't have to go out and reach out to some vocalist and create a new friend who you could be friends with for years to come. Someone who you could work with on the lyrics and work with on the meaning of the song and start to understand someone else's creative vision. Someone who you could grow with and learn more about your own creative process, because working with other people is hard. You didn't have to do any of that because it's right there in front of you. I quickly just want to make it really clear that there are other considerations for why you might not want to use these tools, specifically to do with ethics and IP. They're real problems and we should really consider them. I'm just talking about this one angle of it because I want to keep this focused. I'm going to sit over here now. I think we can draw a lot of parallels with physical struggles. Over the last 10, 20 years or so, there has been such a rise in like gyms and people running marathons and doing Ironmans and people jumping into ice baths, things that just kind of suck, but they are filled with meaning. And it's because everything has gotten too easy. You can Instead of working in factories, we started working in office jobs, which meant we didn't have to use our bodies so much. Instead of working in office jobs, we started working from home, which means we didn't even have to commute. Instead of working in fields for our food, we start going to supermarkets. Instead of going to supermarkets now, we can just get it all delivered to our door. Everything is so easy that people have started to seek out the hard but meaningful things that have been taken away from us. And I feel like the same thing might be happening with our mental and emotional worlds. As these difficult but incredibly meaningful parts of life and creativity get automated away without people even noticing, in 10 or 20 years, I can see people going back in and searching for long periods of time for these hard but meaningful struggles that AI has already solved. I can see heaps of people trying to figure out these difficult problems that AI has already solved, people trying to make things that AI could already make better than them. I feel like if we can be careful to not let these hard but meaningful things slip away in the first place, we won't have to spend so much time searching for them in the future. You're probably noticing me talk with a bit more conviction and hopefully less cuts. And it's because what I'm starting to realize is that in the third iteration of making this video, the fact that this took 3 different iterations meant that I refined my ideas and started to understand my whole stance on this way more than I did in the first iteration of it. When I finished writing the script for the second iteration of this video, I had a weekend, it was Easter weekend, which is quite nice, and my sister came over and she has this new attachment for the KitchenAid, which helps her make pasta really quickly. You stick it on and you put in all the ingredients, it makes a dough, and then you can easily just pull the sheets through, it flattens them, and then you can easily just cut it, and you don't really have to do anything. And as someone who likes making things, believe it or not, I like making pasta from scratch. I have, over the last couple of years, started physically getting a massive rolling pin and rolling the stuff out and chopping it with my hand, and then I really like the process of that. But as she was making this pasta that was just so quick and so easy, my initial reaction was to wave my fist at the air and be like, "Oh, it could never be as good as handmade pasta." And I actually said that because on one of the iterations it was a bit drier, and I was being like, "Oh, if I was needing that, I would have known and I'd be able to adjust or whatever." But in reality, there are difficult parts of the process that I could see them being automated away as being kind of a benefit. If I can do it in 30 minutes instead of 2 hours, it would mean that I have more time to spend on a sauce, or more time to spend talking with people at dinner because I'm not just in the kitchen all day. There are genuine reasons for it. So I'm not here to preach for you to not use any of these AI tools, which was what this video was initially about. Because honestly, I could see myself using some of them which fit in with my workflow properly in future. I'm just here to, I guess, kind of say that I am closer to the process of finding my why. And I think if you can get closer to finding your why in all of this and why you actually make anything in the first place, then every new tool that comes along, you will be easily or more easily able to filter it through that why and then figure out whether it's worth using for you, rather than mindlessly using it just because it makes something a bit easier. I can see there being kids who grow up and start making music now with all these tools, and then they become an integral part of the workflow, and they get their dopamine and they get their meaning from other parts of the process. And that's okay. Everyone's going to be different for this, but just be intentional, I think, is the word with all of this. So I want to close on something which is a bit of a, I get my inspiration from strange places, which I think is kind of cool and it kind of suits the video, but Gotham Chess. So he's a chess streamer, if you didn't catch it. But one of the things he said in an intro to one of his videos, as a complete piss take, kind of resonated with me.
In the world of chess, AI has been better than us for over 25 years. And we're okay with that. In fact, we like AI. We welcome our AI overlords.
People still watch people play chess. People still try and get better at chess, and people still follow this whole community and everything that's going along with it. And I think there's a lot of hope to be drawn from a scenario like that. Before AI was really even a thing and I was trying to get my music out and promote it, there were heaps of music gurus who I really don't like that much, but online people telling you that it's so saturated, everyone's making music these days, it's too easy, that it doesn't matter if you just make good music. You need a story behind it. And as much as I really didn't like that at the time, there is a point to that, and I think it's increasingly more poignant in this why am I being so pretentious? in this moment with AI. For me, it might be filming my process, but for you, it might be telling the story of your life as you make it, or it might be sharing the influences that you have when you make the music. Or it might even be about like sharing the music with people and what you do after you have made the music, or the performance, or it might be about where that goes, or I don't know, it could be anything. It could be so many things, but people watch chess not because a player made some incredible move that a computer couldn't have. It could have. They watch chess because they want to see a human progress through a tournament, or they want to see a human progress online, or they want to see the new tactics which are currently being used by a community, or 1,000 reasons which are all to do with the story around the chess itself, not necessarily just the chess. If you look around even a little bit, you'll see so many industries that are built on foundations that just shouldn't really make sense logically. Like, people do so many things that are illogical. Other than chess, you've got all of sport, you've got all of culture and music, you've got gambling. I guess it's probably a bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say. These industries all work because people don't just think, we feel. But you know who doesn't feel? Robots. I hope this helped. Now go make a thing. Mic drop.